time to get Social Sam in here. He's Summer Social Sam at the moment, given it's a summer run home. Now, he's worked on a list of the NRL enforcers that have joined new clubs in 2025. Well, let's have a little bit of a listen at what we might expect.
Confronted by defenders, Yo breaks through, great pass, Fisher-Harris, out of nowhere.
Oh, yes, it's attack, Fonua-Blake, Fonua-Blake, Fonua-Blake.
It's with Tedesco. Now May! Depth here on both sides. Utoikamanu over the top of Strange.
Gufferson, here's Campbell-Gillard right up the middle. Inside the 20, he's beaten the Batman and goes all the way, Campbell-Gillard.
Oh, doesn't that get you pumped up? I didn't realise I was missing NRL as much as I was. You hear that package and you're like, oh, yes, I'm excited. So, Sam, welcome to the studio. So I'm going to get you to take us through each of these signings that you've featured and just talk to me about, first off, we're talking about enforcers. What criteria have you gone with to make an enforcer? What makes an enforcer?
Afternoon, boys. So the enforcer criteria we've gone for this, it's the player who's joining a new club that's going to really lead the pack. It's, it's the guy who's going to rock up and really kind of lead from the front, lead the boys, set the tone each game, I think. I think every club needs one, and I think these 6 are huge gets for their respective clubs.
So if there's a prototype enforcer in the NRL that we're going to model this off, who's the one person you'd point to? Because for mine, when you say enforcer, Jared Warrior-Hargroves was the name that popped to mind most recently.
I think Jared's the perfect example. Do you have a prime example, Scope?
During our time, Jared would have been up there. I got the back end of Petro Civoniceva.
Oh.
Yeah, big Petro. He had a presence about him.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about an enforcer, when you line up off the kickoff and you just see the enforcer lining up without saying anything, and Petro never, he was such a gentleman as well. He's never a guy that talked a whole lot of crap or tried to intimidate you. He was just him, and he had such a presence about him. So he's the one that sort of stands out early in my career. Jared had it at the back end of my career for sure for the Roosters, and the one that set the tone now is your number one on your list here, not in terms of rankings, but the first name you've got. James Fisher-Harris has well and truly been the enforcer. He's been the heart and soul of that pack at the Penrith Panthers now, and he's arguably one of their I'd say their most underrated part of what they've done. Because when people talk about the premiership at Penrith, Nathan obviously stands out. You talk about his mate Jerome, who's playing at 6. Isaiah Yeo gets a lot of reps, and so does Dylan Edwards. And there's been some great contributors. But James Fisher-Harris has set the tone in games at the start and to finish off games as well.
So it is really that combination. You need I think there's a combination of that presence. They need to be a bigger bloke playing the forwards. They also need to, for mine, I feel a good enforcer is the guy that everyone goes, mate, off the field, the biggest gentleman. Oh, man, he's just he's the nicest. You wouldn't believe it. He crosses the field, then he's crazy. And I've said this to you, Scope, I think it's something in the eyes, the crazy eyes, their ability to look at you and just be scary without saying or making a face.
I'll tell you a guy who was, for me, at Manly, who's highly underrated as well, Jason King. Really, he had a real presence about him. He was a big body, really articulate, and wasn't really a man of. He was our captain. He didn't have to say a lot, but he always said the right things as well. So that's the sort of leadership. That's the
few words sort of a guy.
Few words, but the right things at the right time and the right people. When he went after someone, I seen the South Sydney documentary that they brought out recently. People reminded me. I take a carry into Bentio. He hammers me. I drop the ball. The Burgess boys come in, start spraying me, and then Jason King went after him. He got Luke good, and I think he maybe got Tom or George, and Sam was frothing at the bit to get him. But it was like that alpha mentality, they're getting into me. He's pushing me to the side. He's not the leader. I'm going to go after you. So that's the mentality of an enforcer.
I like this. All right, let's get to your list. You already teased the first one. So talk us through your first on your list.
So first one was James Fisher-Harris.
Yep.
I feel like, Scope, you've covered that pretty well. With the big retirement tour, who Harris especially, James Fisher-Harris is going to be super important to leading that pack and really, setting the tone, especially a lot of players have left that. Addin Fonua-Blake, who's the second one on this list. Addin Fonua-Blake, could he be the guy to get the Sharks to the next premiership?
Or thoughts, Scope?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Addin. He's going to be in my top 3 for sure. He's a weapon. He's a different sort of enforcer. Like, he's not the sort of guy, that would be saying a lot. He's just an action sort of guy, and he's a different mold of front rower. Like, he can do things that none of the other people on this list can do with the skill that he's got. So he's gonna. I think it's going to set him up well for the finals, and it's going to take some pressure off the guys that were under pressure last year for the Sharks. And the one most notably, Nicho Hynes, playing on the front foot off the back of Addin Fonua-Blake. It's going to be huge.
All right. Next on your list.
Next one up, Reagan Campbell-Gillard.
Ooh, RCG.
Joining the Titans from the Eels this year. Was he Eels Player of the Year last
year? He was.
Year?
This is a sneaky good one. I like that you put him here too, because not a lot of people have sort of noticed this one. I think it's going to be huge for the Titans. They've got some real talent up there. A young emerging pack, Mo Fotuaika. Tino's still young in years, even though he's been around for a while. Dave Fafita's still young, similar to Tino, who debuted so young. You've got Beau Fermor, who I really like up there. And this will give him a bit of a veteran's presence. So I think he's going to be a really underrated one. He's going to sneak up on a lot of people, and I think the Titans are going to be better than what people think.
Oh, all right. So you think Des will get the best out of RCG?
Yep, for sure.
Beautiful.
Next one on the list, Terrell May. Left the Roosters under unfortunate, shrouded circumstances, I guess you could say, joining Benji's Tigers revolution. Could he be that guy that they've been missing? Because I feel like he's there kind of... He can bring that alpha mentality they might not have had in recent years.
He showed some really nice spots for the Roosters last year, especially when Jared and some of the others were out for a couple of games. Probably Jared was suspended, which seems more likely that's something Jared would do. But I remember there was a couple of games where he played 80 minutes. Might have been a Knights game in the pouring rain there at Newcastle, and he was outstanding. So he's got a huge task. This team's been had the spoon now for a number of years, and he doesn't have as much help as some of these other guys that we're going to get to on the list. So he's probably got the biggest task out of anyone on this list.
Do you think he's going to have a bit of a point to prove with all the because it is such it's an out of the blue release from the Roosters. Like there doesn't seem to be a logical reason as to why you'd not want him in that Roosters pack. It's a confusing decision to let him go. Do you think he's going to be out to prove more because of that, because of the circumstances he left the Roosters?
For sure. I don't know if you've seen much of Terrell May. He's online a fair bit. He's got his own vlogs. He's done a few podcasts. He tells it exactly how he feels it, and he is ready for a big year. So look out for Terrell May. It's like he's always sort of been one of those guys where he looks like he's playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. So even more so this year. He's
not going to want a wooden spoon, so that's good news for the Tigers.
Well, he's talking championship and he's talking rings, and that's him and Jerome. That's the mindset. They've come from a strong club at the Roosters. His brothers played at the Penrith system with Jerome, so the way that Taruva and Terrell May, they're not even talking about getting off the spoon. They're talking about winning competition. So they're trying to flip the mindset there at Leichhardt.
I like that. All right, next on the list.
Number 5, Stefano Utoikamanu. So joining the Storm from the Tigers. He's already played Origin, still super young from the Tigers. I reckon in the grand final in 2024, when Nas wasn't there, the Storm were really missing that that alpha guy up front. Could Stefano, especially under Craig Bellamy, really develop into that guy who can lead the Storm for ages?
See, this is why I think Terrell's got a huge job, because this is what Stefano's been doing at the Tigers for the last couple of years. He's going to be really good at the Storm. He's going to be that typical guy where people, a little bit underwhelming at the club, showed some spurts, go to Melbourne Storm system, play consistent, like Katoa, like Blore, who come from the Tigers before him. Stefano's in for a huge year.
So it's going to be another storyline about another player the Tigers let go.
And another player that the Storm have got the best out of.
Oh, I like that. I went glass half empty. You went glass half full. I like that. All right, next on our list.
So the next one on the list, Isaiah Papalii, another one the Tigers have let go. He's joining the Penrith Panthers, and I think he's going to make a move into the middle this year. They're pretty set with Liam Martin, Scott Sorensen on their edges. They need the replacement for James Fisher-Harris. Can Isaiah Papalii at Penrith recapture that form that had him winning Dally M second row of the year a couple of years back.
I wouldn't be surprised if they play a bit of a hybrid role with Papalii, where Sorensen and Liam Martin will probably start. But I think we might see Liam Martin play a little bit of front row this year as well with Papalii. So they might swap and save some energy between them. But I think Fletch said this at the back end of last year. His favourite signing and going to be the biggest signing of 2025, he said Papalii. So he's got Papalii on his list for next year.
Oh, I like this. Now, we said we were going to get you to rank the top 3, but I'm going to make it even harder. I want you to rank all 6 of those.
Oh, all 6?
Just in terms, we're not talking about the quality of player, we're talking about the impact that they're going to have. And, and maybe talk through a little bit of the psychology.
Okay, well, the impact and the psychology is pretty evident. What I said about Terrell May, he's got the biggest job. He hasn't properly established himself as well, like some of the names before him in Reagan Campbell-Gillard, Addin Fonua-Blake, James Fisher-Harris. They've been around for a while. He's got to go to a young Tigers pack. He doesn't have a whole heap of help, so I think he's probably going to be the one that has the biggest job in front of him. Isaiah Papalii.
So is he number 1?
No, he's last.
He's last. 6.
He's last. He's like, his numbers might be great, but necessarily the results off the back of it because of the Tigers pack and he's got around him. Isaiah Papalii, because I don't think he's a clear cut. There's no clear opportunity for him currently in the pack. The way I see it, I see Moses Leota, Lindsay Smith up front, and then they've also got Liam Henry coming off the bench. So I think he might play a bit of a Mr. Fix-It role. So maybe not as impactful, even though Penrith is still going to be great. So I don't think Isaiah Papalii, he'll be my 5th. 4th will be James Fisher-Harris.
Ooh.
Yeah, James Fisher-Harris. It's a big year for him. If he can do it at this point of his career, it's going to be a huge task, and it's going to be probably one of the stories of the year and the signings of the year. But you lose Addin, you lose Tohu Harris, you lose Sean Johnson, and I think they've just got a few more holes in that roster, the Warriors, that are going to be hard to fix. And if he can do it, if anyone can do it in the middle and create a new culture, it's going to be what he's going to be bringing from the Panthers. But I got him at 4. Let's go Reagan Campbell-Gillard. He's my smoky at the Titans. I think that's a good pack up there already. He brings some seniority in there, and I think Titans going to be a team that make the jump next year. They've got good young talent in the forward pack and in the back line, and I think Reagan Campbell-Gillard has got a point to prove as well. The way Player of the Year at Parramatta, and he's sent packing. Number 2, I'm going to go Addin Fonua-Blake. Addin Fonua-Blake. I still have my question marks whether he is that final missing piece, but for sure he's going to help the Sharks. I think they're going to be a top 4 team. I think they're going to get to a preliminary final, but I like a couple of teams a little bit better. And that last player on the list, Stefano Utoikamanu. Just think about the way we view Ali Katoa now as a back rower in the game compared to 2 years ago when he was at the Warriors and he was in and out of first grade and his form was all over the shop. Stefano, he's that missing piece. I agree with you there, Sammy, Social Sam. If they get Nelson Asafa-Solomona and Stefano Utoikamanu back, fully fit, with the roster that they had last year, now a lot's got to go right. Melbourne Storm will be right back there in the big dance.
Do you think Craig Bellamy's involved in Origin this year with the Blues? Do you think Stefano, under Craig Bellamy, can get back into that camp? Can he remake the team?
Sorry, what was that?
Can Stefano Utoikamanu make Origin this year with Craig Bellamy especially involved in camp? For
sure. And it's not necessarily about Bellamy being involved in camp. It's just the quality of footy and what he's going to produce at Melbourne is going to get a lot of people noticing him. And they're going to be in good form. Melbourne are going to be, they're going to be top 4 around that time. Their roster's really good. And he's not going to have to overcomplicate his role, and he'll do it. He's a really talented player, Stefano.
Yes. So that's your top ranked. Now I'm interested first off in when you played.
Yep.
Who out of these blokes, who is the enforcer you'd least like to come up against?
James Fisher-Harris. Like, he's number 1. If there was a player that I'd love to play with, to take out everything in the roster.
Yep.
Take out the situation. James Fisher-Harris is number 1 on the list. Easy. He's got the most runs on the board. I love the way he plays. He does all the small things right too. Like, people associate him with carrying the footy and defensively being really sound, but he does kick pressures. He does a lot of the small things that I don't think the average fan probably doesn't notice, which allows Isaiah he moves smoothly through, and he's able to drop Fisher Harris off and just do some of the dirty work for him.
I like that. So now let's do this, Sam. You've been around. How old are you now?
I'm 21.
21. So who's your growing up? Let's talk about our favourite enforcer when we were younger. For me, it's the man who lent a bloke a shirt for a couple of schooners, Paul the Chief Harrigan.
Yeah.
Just an absolute, exactly what you said about what the kind of bloke, like that kind of leader in that pack. Everyone just followed him. He was the toughest bloke on the field. He was hard. People were scared of him. He just had the crazy eyes. He had everything you wanted from an enforcer. Who was your childhood enforcer player, you reckon?
I think the one that comes to mind really for me is James Graham. I remember being, I would have been 10, 12, watching that Good Friday game.
Yeah.
When you just...
The finger point?
The finger point. Oh, James Graham on a field terrified me as a kid, and I feel like that's the epitome of an enforcer. If they're terrifying the 12-year-old watching at home, but also really having that 12-year-old want to be that player, that's your bona fide enforcer.
I saw him going for a jog near Shark Park one time, and he was coming towards me. I'm like, look at this big redhead, just looked like he's about to explode. And he had those same crazy eyes just jogging past me. It was amazing. What about you? Who was your childhood enforcer, mate?
Chief was actually for me as well growing up, but that was during my dad's era. But when it come to the Kiwis, Ruben Wiki, big Ruben Wiki. Off the back fence. He transitioned from an outside back, a centre in his early days at Canberra Raiders. But when he was playing for the Warriors and whenever he put the black and white jersey on for the Kiwis, Ruben Wiki was I always felt safe when I looked at the lineup and the Kiwis were playing Australia and it was always going to be a tough game. If Ruben Wiki was in the team, I always liked our chances a little bit better.
Ruben Wiki, good. I love a player who's a bit of rhyming slang too.
What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans.